Good morning, Roy.
Meeting. Put that. We got a meeting this afternoon. Oh, after tonight, after this evening, yeah.
All right.
Okay, we'll get.
We're calling this executive meeting to order.
But you don't want to make it BORED.
Okay, I'm going to start the learning sponsors. Year of Learning, Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Mocha Thanabat Pinchas, friends of Herb Jeremiah Tzvi Ben Zev, friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov, friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir, Bella and David Adler, in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben friends, family of Arthur Richards, Mordechai Hill and Baruch Dave Cohen, friends and family of Siggy Bessler, Shraga Ben, friends of Marvin Weinstein, my husband, Aaron. A Month of Learning by Haran and Mohala, in memory of her mother, Michael Rachabat Yehuda Leib, Judith and Michael Poretsky, in memory of her father, Yaakov Yitzchak Feigl, Isaac and Ada Novick, in memory of his mother, Miriam Gilbert Kenneth, Tova and Leo Zimmer, in memory of her father, Enya Barbero, Betty Kaiser, in memory of her husband, Rabbi Shulchan Ben David, in memory of Ackerman's mother, Angel Mo. Somebody in memory of her husband Hillel Ben Gershon. Okay, today is a Tuesday. There are no individual days of learning for today. Hashem is having a leah, crank for fear, but they show it to leah. Open Israel, good for Ben Shia. Good to see Ruven on the Zoom. And, Michael, I think you're on. Michael Brevin is also on.
Today's Rabbi Karpel's father's yahrzeit.
Right, you're going to say Rabban Kaddish at the end of the learning?
It's his name again.
My father's name, Deb Moshe Ben Shlomo Yaakov.
Zeb Moshe Ben Shlomo Yaakov.
The learning.
Thank
That will the learning should be Louis Nisham.
Amen. Amen. And we're going to start with, and we're going to be a new volume. Lots more people you have to have in mind. Okay.
Actually, get Mel, please.
Okay. If you are, so what was the last word you read yesterday? Yeah, but that doesn't.
We've got that's where we're starting. In the last line of Pei Aleph Amud Beis, the very last line is if he died.
So we asked the kasha. We said first we up to now we think we're learning a brisa. The brisa said 10, and all of a sudden we brought the two other opinions of extra more enactments that they made. The answer says the Gemara b'yechidah lo kamrina. He said the brisa. If you notice that these things that we just learned up above, the extra ones, they were in the name of individuals. So therefore, what? So it could be that there's a disagreement. So the brisa was not quoting opinions that there was a takana that not everybody said. There was only names. We're not quoting individual opinions. The 1 second says the Gemara. Didn't we learn when Rabbi Abin came? Amar Rabbi Yochanan. He said name Rabbi Yochanan Amora. It makes no difference whether a tree is leaning overhanging her friend's field, or a tree which is right next to the borderline of him and somebody else. And you would really think that when the person brings his bikurim from that tree, he's not going to read the declaration. Why? Because you have to say from his land that Hashem gave him, and really what his tree was, to a certain degree, was gaining nourishment from the field of his neighbor. Okay, nevertheless, he says, nevertheless, he can bring it and he can read the reading. Why is that? So in Israel, sorry, because Yeshua made a takana that the people of the adjacent field will not be makpid. So really, they're giving over the field to the rights to the other guy to have his tree be nourished, and therefore what? So therefore he can still say the reading. The only thing is we have a kasha from it. But how can Rabbi Yochanan say when he's saying that Yeshua said it? Now the answer is what? Alaman Tana Asar Tanaim. It's not Yeshua. You have a mistake. He says, who's the Tana? Okay, who's the one who taught us? Who's the teacher that taught us that there are 10 conditions that Yeshua made, or 10 enactments of Yeshua ben Levi? That's Yeshua ben Levi, who's an Amora, not a Tana. This one knows we made a mistake. This wasn't a Brisa. And and therefore what? So there's a machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and another Amora, not between Rabbi Yochanan and the Tana. And also as the kasha Rabbi Yochanan. Okay. Rav Gavia mi Beikaso, Rav Gavia from the place called Beis Kaso, Masnei Behedja, and he learned explicitly that's exactly that this what we quoted before. The original 10 was from Yeshua ben Levi, from Amora, and not from a Tana. They said it in the name of one of the elders. Who was that? Yeshua ben Levi. Okay, what they said? What? That's what they said. Asar Tanaim Hisna Yeshua. There were 10 conditions or 10 enactments that Yeshua made. Now we said that now we really are going to bring other the Takana said Ezra made. Remember, just like Yeshua made when they came to Eretz Israel originally. When they came back from the exile, Ezra made takanas. Asar takanas in Ezra. There were 10 takanas that Ezra was talking. We have some kashas. We'll come to them. Okay. First of all, Korim b'mincha b'Shabbos, that we read the Torah Shabbos afternoon by mincha. But Korim b'sheni b'chamishi, we also read Monday and Thursday. Bedanin, and also that we judge monetary cases b'sheni b'chamishi we judge monetary cases on Mondays and Thursdays. We're talking about a based in of 3, but we judge monetary cases on Mondays and Thursdays. He also made an enactment that people will wash their clothing on Thursdays, as we'll see, before Shabbos. Okay, so Shabbos can be dedicated to Shabbos, but you have to have covered Shabbos, so we'd wash on Thursday the clothing, and on Friday we all dedicate to preparing Shabbos. Also, according to these Rishonim, they also talking that people should eat garlic on Friday nights. Okay, as we'll see, garlic.
Maybe it's Friday afternoon.
These Rishonim that I'm reading, we read Friday night. That's what I'm telling you. That's read Friday night, and the reason is because unlike other, first of all, it helps a person to be more to procreate. But also the thing is that the chiddush by garlic is that garlic is fast acting, and saying it doesn't take a long time. So even they can take a Friday night and it's effective right away. That's one of the positive qualities of garlic. Also, the women should get up early to bake bread, so the poor people will have bread. Any poor person that comes to the door, there'll be bread ready to give out. Also, the woman would wear, according to Rashi, a type of garment like he said, like little pants, but it'd be like a garment for tznius, as we'll see. And also that, in addition, as we're going to see in a minute, to the Torah law, that a woman has to check her hair, that there's no intervening substance between her hairs and the water. But also that and we're going to read it like Rashi, that she has to also comb out her hair. There's a little problem because the word chafifa is really a word for scrubbing. Lachpof is to scrub, so you'd be more inclined to say it's scrubbing, shampooing. But Rashi learns here. In fact, today, whenever they want to tell a woman to prepare for the mikveh, they tell her to do chafifa, scrubbing and washing. But Lamaisa, Rashi says he's talking about the comb because that's the best way to get the knots out of the hair. There could be a chafifa and all kinds of intervening substances. But also, in addition to the Torah law of checking her hair, that she would also comb her hair before going to the mikveh. But she Rochlin also, and that the peddlers who sell their various kinds of good selling things, perfumes, and all kinds of adornments for women, marzim by ours, they have a right to go around to the cities and sell. And the local union of peddlers can't stop them from coming in. A lot of times they could, but here they cannot. Why? Because it's so Jewish women to have jewelry that makes them look beautiful, and therefore you can't stop anybody coming in to sell. They keep it by Troy. And also what? And also, even just to learn Torah, he said that what? Forget you. They have to go to the mikvah. They have to in order to make sure that they're able. If that person had a seminal emission, they have to go to the mikvah and they want to deal with holy matters. But this was the different point. This was that he made a takana that people couldn't even learn Torah if they didn't go to the mikvah. And you notice that it said tikkun a second time over here. Why is that? Because this one wasn't really accepted by everybody. Okay, sheyikarim b'mincha b'Shabbos. Okay, now let's look at the things that we spoke about. We said Ezra established that we should read the Torah on Friday on Shabbos afternoon. B'Shem Yoshi Kronos. Now, what is that? We're going to read Yoshi Kronos as those people who are in the store. They're the storekeepers. They're there all week long, and they're busy doing business, and they don't have time to come and hear the Torah on Monday and Thursday. So therefore, he set up for them to have an extra reading on Shabbos. And also he said that they should read on Monday and Thursday. Okay, Ezra Tike, he says, Ezra Tike, what are you talking about? Monday and Thursday was Ezra? Well, I mean, we already, way before Ezra's time, we already had the takana to read the Torah on Mondays and Thursdays, the Tanya, because we learned. The Jewish people went 3 days in the desert and they didn't find water. So we have to learn Darsha Rishumas, those people the rabbis who interpret what is transcribed in the Torah. They said here at Drasha, Amru, instead of reading literally that they didn't have water, Amru, they said, Ein Mayim El Torah. This word Mayim here is metaphoric. 3 days without water, 3 days without Torah. Shemar, as it says, like the Navi tells us, let every person who's thirsty go to the water, and it's clear from the Psukim over there that he's talking about Torah. So water is Torah, and then what happened? What happened was when they went 3 days without Torah, and they were busy on the run, Nilu, they became faint, they became very weak, and they wanted very much to learn Torah. So the prophets among them, namely Moshe Rabbeinu, got stood up and whatever thinking of them, and they established for them Shiyukorim b'Shabbos, that they established what? That they have to read Shabbos, then Umafsikin, you skip Sunday, Umafsikin Bechal b'Shabbos, V'Karim b'Sheni, then you read on Monday, Umafsikin Shlish Revi, you skip Tuesday and Wednesday, V'Karim b'Shchamishi, you read on Thursday, Umafsikin B'Erev Shabbos, you skip Friday, Kadesh Lo Yalinu Shlosh Yomi below Torah, so they shouldn't have 3 days. No, the other way, there was no takana to read at all. They didn't have to read.
Oh no, this was the right away.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, but it wasn't that there was an established custom. He established the custom to read. Who said you have to read that? Here, everybody has to learn Torah. Who said you have to take a Torah and read it for everybody, etc.? So he set that up so that everybody would, so already in the time that they were in the desert, that they would always read together on Monday and Thursday. So it wasn't Ezra, it was Moshe Rabbeinu. So what Ezra do? What did he did it? The answer is Mikara, okay, Tiknu Chad Gabra, plus of Psukim, because the original takana of Moshe Rabbeinu was either one man read 3 Psukim for Kohen Levi Israel, or Inami Tlasa Gavre, Tlasa Psukim, or 3 people between them read 3 Psukim, 1 pasuk each for Kohen Levi Israel, for Neged, corresponding to Kohanim Levi Israel. And Ezra came and said, what did he change? V'tikein, you're right, it's the same days, but what? V'tikein Tlasa Gavre Vasara Psukim. He set up there'll be 3 people and 10 psukim altogether. The first guy reads 3, the second guy reads 3, and the last guy reads 4. Why is that? And so that should correspond to the 10 people who refrain from going to work and they stay in the base medrash all the time. They stay in the Beit Knesset all the time. So there'll always be 10 people for davening, and the whole community supports them. Remember, we're going to learn when it comes to when we learn about Megillah, etc. One of the signs that a place is a place, and they have 10 people who are available all the time for the to make them minion. Okay, but done. Okay, and furthermore, we said that the Beis Din judges their cases Monday on Monday and Thursday. Why is that? Why is that? Why is it Tafka Monday and Thursday? Because since they have to come into here, the Sefer Torah, so it's a good day for everybody to be there. And they come into the people from the small towns come into the city, and they'll all be there for Torah reading, so they'll be there for the quick case. We said also that people should wash their clothing on Thursday. That was for the honor of Shabbos. They should have clean clothing for the Shabbos. And you don't want to wait till every Shabbos, like I told you, because you want to be busy with all the other things that have to be done every Shabbos. Yeah, they have so much. It's true. I used to in the yeshiva, sometimes when I wanted to explain to people how wealthy everyone is today, thank God today, even people with not a lot of money today, compared to what people were in our ancestors' time, even people with not a lot of money are extremely wealthy. I used to tell the guys, for example, here, if every day you go to their house and you have more food than you can consume, you're doing very well. If every day you can't eat the food that you have, you eat as much as you can, you sell food, you got a lot. Part of my family was a matriarch. She lived in Tel Aviv, and one of the guys came from Europe. So she asked him, "Why are you not moving to Eretz Israel?" She said, "Look, in Eretz Israel, people are poor." He said. She turned red. She began to yell at him. He said, "Poor?" She said, "No one is poor. She said, poor." She says, "I was poor in Europe." She says, "When we ate a meal," she says, "we didn't know if we were going to ever eat again. Not when we're going to eat next. We didn't know if we ever eat again in our lives. That was poor." She said, "What are you talking about?" So today, so I used to try to explain to my students. I said, "Listen, you get involved in things that but thank God. Here, do you remember what you were wearing a year ago? You remember what you were wearing a year ago? Nobody can remember. Here, how important was it? People get busy looking nicer. You remember what you wore a year ago? No. So finally, only one time, a guy answered me. Who was it? It was a guy just came from Russia. He says to me, "Yeah." He says, "I remember what I wore a year ago." He says, "Why not really that I remember? Why?" Because I only had one shirt. He says, "I always wear the same shirt." He's only had one shirt. Anyway, okay. So you say they had to wash exactly. Shabbos. Okay. Also, we said that they're going to eat garlic on Friday night. So why is that Mishabona? Because that's the special time that we learned that a man should be with his wife, particularly Talmidei Chachamim. And that's the main time for cohabitation is Friday night. It says, Asher Pio Yite Bito. It says, the pasuk actually says, and it says, Asher Pio Yite Bito is going to give his food in the right time. Rabbi Yehuda, B'Tema, Rav Nachman, B'Tema, Rav Kahana, B'Tema, Rabbi Yochanan. That's a person who's gonna cohabit with his wife from Friday night to Friday night. That's the main cohabitation time. So therefore, it's good to eat garlic on that night. Tanarabana we learned. There are 5 things that we learn about garlic. One must be one, it satisfies. Umashrin, it warms a person. Umatzopanim, it makes a person have a glad face. Okay, Umar Bazer, and then increases the man's seed. Bahari Kidim should be named, and also kills certain types of parasites, or let's say lice, but a parasite that's in the intestines. Some people say Machnis Ava, it puts love into the heart of a man. It makes him happy. Because it makes him happy. Umotzi Sakina, and also gets rid of jealousy. And furthermore, he said, the woman should get up early, and should bake bread. What's the reason? Because of the people if they're collecting what they're doing, should be bread ready to give them. If you remember, one of the other places that the Gemara tells us, any charity is good, but the closer the benefit is to the poor person, the greater is the charity. So if a person is hungry, if you can give him ready baked bread, you could give him money to go buy bread. But if you give him bread ready to eat, it's better to that charity because he gets the benefit right away, assuming that he wants to eat bread. So anyway, there's bread ready to give the people that are collecting. We said the woman should gird herself with a sinar. Okay, and what is that for? That is for modesty. For her modesty, for men modesty, that they shouldn't be seeing the wrong things, all kinds of things. Other people learn it has to do with having her period. She said also the talking that the woman should. We said comb her hair and go to the mikvah. Okay, the Gemara says deraisi. What do you mean? Well, that's not a takana. That's the Torah law. Where do we know? We know that they can't. Not only can't there be any intervening substance between a person's body and the water when they go to the mikvah, you can't even have an intervening substance between your hair and the mikvah when you want to go to the mikvah. So S is an extra word. It says he has to wash his flesh in the water, but it has the extra word S. What does that mean? So we know one that we have to know what there can't be. So the water there has to be. His flesh has to be in the water. It can't have anything between the water. The flesh has to be in the water, and not something between the flesh and the water. Es basar, whatever the extra word es a tafel basar. Also that which is secondary, which is subjugated, secondary to the skin, to this flesh. What does that mean? What does that say? That's the hair. So the hair has to be without intervening substance. It can't be knotted. It can't have dirt on it. So Amri, so they said, so therefore what? So what do you mean? Ezra said she has to comb out her hair. But from the Torah, she has to make sure there's no intervening substance on her hair. Amri, they said no. The rice, miktar. Okay, miktar. Here, from the Torah, she has to look and make sure that her hair is not knotted. Inami most we do. If there's some filth on it, make sure mechatzitza because of an intervening substance. But Ezra came along with Tika and Chafifa, and he enacted what, that she's actually going to comb the hair. So we'd be far from even a possibility that there is a chatzitza, even though there's such chatzitza. We're gonna if we didn't come to it before, we're gonna come to it because it started from getting to the whole hair. That's the point. And we're gonna see this question is how many hairs? What if two hairs, 3 hairs? It's not all the same. Sometimes it's slippery. It's open enough that the water gets in. But here there's a way to have a knot that's gonna stop the water from reaching every place. Yeah, I told them on Shabbos in Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim is full of incredible people. Every kind of wonderful person, the most pious people, the holy people, characters. You got everything. Everything's in Yerushalayim. So all the years I was in Yerushalayim, always these guys, they go to the mikvah, they take upon themselves to go to the mikvah 100 times, to 360 times, 280, with all the numbers, all mystical numbers. So I used to think to myself, man, these guys they probably lose you like 10 pounds going to the mikvah, in, out, 100 times the mikvah, 360 times the mikvah. They don't lose a pound. You know what they do? It's a trick. Why? Because they know this halacha. What's the halacha by a mikvah? Your whole body has to be in the mikvah. One hair is out of the mikvah. You didn't go to the mikvah. So what do? The guy has to go 360 times to the mikveh. He puts himself in the water, and then he puts his finger up like a periscope, and like this, he's out, in, out. He does his finger on auto drive. He's does 360 tefillahs in under a minute, like this. That's the trick. You have to, huh? Yeah, exactly. Dreadlocks are a problem. Dreadlocks are a problem. Oh yeah.
So 3 times.
3 times. So that's not so hard.
No, I mean, up by
Yeah, that's not so hard. 3 times, not so hard. 360 already, you need the finger. Okay. Mashiach Rochlin, furthermore, what we said that the peddlers are allowed to come and sell. You can't stop them from coming into the town. I had here not long after I came to America, so a woman called up from another state. She wants to talk to a rabbi. I said, okay. She says, I'm not Jewish. She says, but I respect the Jewish wisdom very much. She said, I'm having an argument with my coworkers. So she says, I want to hear what a rabbi's opinion is. So I said, okay. So she talked to me. What's the story? This was 2010 or 11. Everybody was it was hard. Everybody was having trouble getting jobs those days. It was a bad market. So she says she and her colleagues are very highly trained, very high level. And the boss is asking them to do jobs that are beneath their dignity, namely data entry, which is, I guess, for a highly trained person, that's a very mundane, like a secretarial job, I guess. So she says, I value my job, she says, and I want to keep it. And I'm happy to do it because I want my boss to keep me on because they're getting rid of everybody. She says, but my colleagues are saying that I am ruining the atmosphere, in the place by taking the job. And they claim that I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm not allowed to acquiesce to do that entry with my boss said. So she said, I want to know what you say. So I said, I'll call you back in a few minutes. I sat down to chazir the problem a little bit. So I called her back and I said to her, listen, are you in a union? I said to her, is there a union? She said, no. I said, if there's no union, you have a right to do what you want. You can. You're not just. She's allowed to. You have no obligation. But we're going to see. If we didn't have that, we're going to see. They have. But we had by in the Gemara. You see, the workers are given place. They can set rules. The workers, as a group, can set rules once they. But that's not the case over here. I said, you're fine. Anyway, she was very happy. She kept her job. Anyway. Okay, so we said what? That the workers here, the peddlers in the town can't stop the external peddlers from coming in. Why? Mishum tachshiti nashim. Why? That's to have adornments for the women. Because it's so important for women not to be unattractive to the husbands. This is critical, and you have to think 2 times and 3 times when all these. And I believe me, I am the biggest fan of modesty. Please don't. Take with 20 grains of salt. The last thing I want to tell you is to be lenient about modesty. But when some of these modesty groups are busy, lowering the boom on the women and stopping them from doing what they need to do to be attractive, etc., they have to think a lot of times before they do those things. You know, because women, you see how important it was, how the rabbis were makpid. The women should have the ability to make themselves attractive. The tikkun tefillah lebali crying. Also, what he said that even a person just to learn Torah, we're going to see he has to go to the mikvah. So the Gemara says, "What do you mean? What kind of takana?" The right say, if a person's going to have to go to the mikvah if he had a seminal emission. This it says, "V'ishki teitzu in a shikva zera." When a man has a seminal emission, brachas b'sar b'mayim. That's not the right quote actually. That's a paraphrase of the Gemara. But he has to go to the mikvah. So the Gemara says, "What?" The Gemara says, he says, "No." The Gemara says, "What?" That it's true, but the Raisi before Ezra, the Truma Kachim, that's because he wanted to eat Truma, he wanted to eat sacrificial matter. So of course he had to go to the mikvah. Atahu, but Ezra came along, but Tikain, just in order to go to learn, every person had to go to the mikvah even before he went to go to learn Torah. Now we said further, we're already talking about all kinds of enactments. So we're going to see that Ezra also had, because we brought that, so we're going to bring other rules that were said as vis-a-vis Yerushalayim as opposed to Eretz Yisrael. As far as we're in them Yerushalayim, there were 10 things that were said about Jerusalem. We have a rule in Eretz Yisrael about selling houses. In an unwalled city, if you sell a house, a person always has the right to redeem his house. And just like a field in the Jubilee year, it comes back to him. But in a walled city, you sell a house, okay, up to 1 year you can redeem it. But that's it. After 1 year, it becomes what's the word? Chalut. I don't know what the word is in English. It becomes absolutely fine. It's finalized. It's finalized in the hand of the other person, and you can't get it back. Period. Never again. So what? But so Yerushalayim was a walled city. So really, the law should have been in Yerushalayim that after 1 year, if you didn't redeem it, then it's finalized to go to the other person. You can't get it back. But we said first it was enabayis chalupa. Number one, that houses don't become finalized, unlike other walled cities after 1 year. Okay, that's number one. Not only that, but also Yerushalayim, that even if there was found a corpse and it was next to Yerushalayim, they have a whole ceremony where the elders have to come out. They have to chop the back of the neck of the calf, etc. We don't do it. It's also the rules when you have in a city, when a group of people entices the city to go out and serve Avodah Zarah. So there's a different law than when people usually do. Than when people usually do Avodah Zarah. When a few people come, okay. So what do? We have to kill everybody who served, not the normal punishment for Avodah Zarah. We kill them by the sword, by the beheading. Okay, and also all their possessions have to be burnt up. But we don't do that in Yerushalayim. In Yerushalayim, even the whole group did it, we still consider them like individuals, and they get stoning, and we don't destroy their property. That's also you're really supposed to see. Yerushalayim has special status. Okay, and furthermore, also what the houses, the house leprosy, whatever word you're going to use for that Torah contamination, leprosy of houses. Okay, it doesn't happen in Yerushalayim. Okay, like we'll see. Okay, and furthermore in Yerushalayim. Now remember, what's the minimum size for a private domain? 10 tvachim. Houses don't have to be that high. So you'll see. I said that for a reason. You'll see in a minute. It'll make a little more sense. So also in Yerushalayim, we don't extend beams out of the walls of the walls of the other houses because it's straw. So we don't put balconies. Okay, that come out of the roofs. Okay, out of the ceiling. Also, what we don't make trash heaps. We also don't make these little furnaces to burn up lime. But we'll see them in a while. And we don't make these gardens and orchards except for the gardens where they did brodim. Now I don't know what they translate. Brodim is translated. Everybody translates brodim they want. Some people translate as verd, they translate rose. Some people translate verd as a lily. I'm talking about Shoshana Samakim. Everybody has different words. But anyway, but this we do know. We do know that this was in the incense. Okay, so that one, those units run them. Okay, that since we need it for the incense, you're allowed to have those gardens. Shumi most Nevi'im of Yishan. They were there from the time of the first Nevi'im, the early Nevi'im. We'll see, we don't grow chickens there, nor do we allow a corpse to go overnight. And there are people who hold that it's not shaykh anymore, but to this day in Yerushalayim, that's pretty much the custom of Yerushalayim. Yeah, they bury at night. Yeah, Yerushalayim, they bury mamash immediately, mamash at night, and it's unbelievable.
Like, I remember a case where somebody died at late afternoon, and the family had to come from America.
It's different. Yeah.
They took the corpse out of Jerusalem and put it elsewhere.
Yeah, that's just yeah. But okay. Very good. Okay, further now let's take a look. We said that the house after 1 year in Yerushalayim, as opposed to other walled cities, doesn't become finalized in the hands of the other. You'll see why. How do we know? Because we come a baisa. This house, okay, which has a wall, etc. Walled cities for forever. So it comes to the person who acquired it for all his generations. What? But we have a problem. There's a famous machlokas. Even though a famous machlokas whether Yerushalayim actually was ever given away. Okay, what do we need to say? Whether it was really given. It's really Yerushalayim is in the territory of Yehuda and Binyamin. But we have machlokas whether it was really ever given to them. We understand it was in their territory, but maybe Yerushalayim wasn't really ever divided. So this opinion that we're following here says nobody really owns Yerushalayim, and therefore, even though the guy may own his house, yes, but he doesn't own the land under it, and all the laws don't work. So therefore, what? So this opinion holds. So in the that Yerushalayim, even though the Shvatim were there, but it wasn't really given to them, and therefore nobody really has ownership over it. Okay, and therefore nobody can actually sell the house in the way that it would become finalized. The enemy of the roof also in Yerushalayim, if they found a corpse near the city, so the elders don't bring the calf that they hit the back of the neck. You'll see as it's written, Ki matzi halal Hashem alakech. Okay, you're going to find a corpse in the land that Kosh Baruch Hu gave you to inherit. And the same thing, Yerushalayim, again, this is not your land, okay, Yerushalayim, because it doesn't. So it's not in the rule of your place. Also, he said, it doesn't get the rule of a city where the people did all what to do about a czar and have a different law to be killed by the sword and to have their money destroyed. By the Sivas, it's written. Arecha. It says what happens in one of your cities. The pasuk is it says it says just in one of your cities. Okay, Yerushalayim again. Yerushalayim was not really given to the tribes as an inheritance. We said also that the rules of house leprosy don't apply. The chsivas is written I guess in the house of the land of your inheritance. Okay, so it has to be one. Again, it has to be inheritance, the owner. And again, the same principle. Yerushalayim wasn't really given away to the tribes. You're not allowed to have boards coming out of the walls or from the roof as a balcony. Why? If they all the tumah, because we're afraid to hear. We want to stay so ritually pure in Yerushalayim. So if you have overhangs, what's happening? If there's an overhang and there's something unclean, then the person will walk unnoticed. We under the same roof as what is unclean. Okay, and therefore they're going to become unclean. So we don't want to do that. And number two, we don't want people who are coming up to visit. They shouldn't be damaged by things sticking out. So that's why I mentioned the point, because it bothered me. What do you mean? Because they learned that the second part are coming out from the roof. So from the roof, we think a roof is way up there. What's going to be? The houses don't have to be that high. You understand? To remember, we said by Shabbos already. We have 10 tvachim. You already got a place. Okay. We so we don't make trash heaps. Why? Because that's where it really means shratzim. Because the animals that whose corpses make tumah are continually found there, and we don't. Since your lime is full of sacrificial matter, we don't want to increase anything becoming tumah. We don't make these ovens to burn the lime. Why? Because of the smoke. There's a lot of different opinions. Simply smoke on the wall, smoke on the Beis Hamikdash. Some people don't even have a problem. They don't want the smoke to mix with the smoke of the incense of the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah. But anyway, it's simply, but the simple thing, smoke, it makes dirt. I want you to know that when I was very young, when I first came to Yerushalayim, and it was a guy I worked with, and he was absolutely not observant. Not a drop, nothing. He was a classic, secular Israeli, nothing. But he said to me, and I remember, I never forgot it. He said, I never in my life would wear short pants in the city of Jerusalem. He said, I would never wear shorts in Jerusalem. He said, it's the holy city. The guy didn't observe nothing. He did nothing. He's completely, in Jerusalem to walk with short pants in a holy city? Who would think of such a thing? And yeah, you should know about the religious people I came, no one wore short sleeves. It's okay. I'm not saying you can't wear short sleeves. But in Shalim, when I came, nobody wore short sleeves. Nobody. Yerushalayim was a holy, but that was not just Jerusalem. There was a reverence, for the holiness. But the guy wasn't religious, but wow, nothing. And he told me in his life he would never consider to wear short pants in a holy city of Jerusalem. It was not in keeping. Yeah, and not to the best of my knowledge. No. We don't have the country, we don't have the holy sacrificial matter, etc. Okay. I don't know that it does. Anyway, yeah. I'm gonna double check, but I don't know that it does. Okay. Furthermore, we say we don't make these gardens and these orchards. What's the reason? Because what happens is two reasons. Either because the type of grass that grows in there and they're thrown outside and they make a bad smell, or another reason simply that they have to fertilize them in order for the growth, and that makes a bad smell. I was telling people, there's a old custom in Jerusalem not to have music at the weddings, not to have more than one musician, and was a pretty well established custom amongst the religious people in Jerusalem. Whole arguments when we're so what used to go to weddings there. We used to have just a drummer, for example. The guy would just have one drummer, and then we would dance and sing to a drum. That was the minimum. But what happened was, even among those groups, eventually people, Baruch Hashem, people prospered, etc. People wanted to have a wedding with a big band, etc. So they started to say that the custom was only in the original city, so they would go outside of Jerusalem. Some people said no. Some people said only the old city. It was okay, the old Yishuv, whatever. They went to go outside Yerushalayim. So what became common was the religious people would go to the kibbutzim and moshavim and the outskirts of the city, which were sure out of Jerusalem. So everybody just go out of the city, and there they'd have a band, and they would not be against the custom. So there's one place there that
wasn't fully accepted.
Yeah. No, I have a lot to say about it. I've been involved in the subject for a long time. But anyway, we had some problem because so we made wedding halls on these farms. But the problem is the farms have livestock. So there's one of them. It's a nightmare. There's one of them is a nightmare. You go out there. And you have to decide if you can do the chuppah. You can't make a bracha on the places. It stinks. It's a big problem. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Is only the old city?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying anything. Whatever they call Yerushalayim for them. We're not arguing about it. Okay, but I'm not arguing about it. So we said what, and we said we learned this before. Why don't we going to grow chickens there? Also because of kosher, because the sacrificial matter there, people have to eat shlomim, and they have to eat Thanksgiving offerings. They have to eat meiser behema, tithe of the animals. And what happens is, we said the chickens they peck in the garbage, and they bring the unclean the corpses of unclean shrutzim, or keep recalling things that make the sacrificial matter unclean. We said what, and interestingly enough, this is an interesting problem, and we don't leave a corpse overnight. And the Gemara says, what Gemara? It's just a tradition. It's a tradition that as if what? As if there's no reason whatsoever. You always hear people say, "Oh, now the Shus Radba is really what because it was really because of the uncleanliness of the corpse." And they're really especially mocked. But even though the Gemara didn't say, I don't know how you say, but the Gemara didn't say that. So if we say it doesn't apply today, but you see people do. Okay. We learned in our Mishnah, back to the ranch, you're not allowed to grow pigs any place. On Rabbanan, we learned when there was a fight between two of the Chashmonaim brothers, okay, Hyrcanus and Aristobulus, Rachmanis, and they were fighting over the kingdom. Okay, now this is the opposite of other places, but I'm going to read it the way we have it written. Hyrcanus and his men were inside the city. Aristobulus was outside with the Romans, and they were sieging Hyrcanus inside the city. Okay, and every day they would lower a basket with silver coins in it. Okay, from the donations to the Beis Hamikdash, for the sacrifices. And our established people, Malem Lahem, and they would send up sheep. Incredible. They're fighting a war, but every day they send them up sheep, to sacrifice. To meet them, okay, pardon me, Amalim to meet them. They set up sheep, for the carbon tummy. Hayasham Zaken Echad. So there was one elder inside the city. He knew how to speak. We're going to see in a minute this very high class Greek language, which was among the what's the word, among the feinschmeckers. What are they called? The aristocracy. Yeah. What is that? The aristocracy?
Aristocracy.
Yeah, among the aristocracy, they speak this fine Greek, Greek language. So he knew how to speak it. So he's going to speak it in a way that the Jews inside won't hear what he's saying. He's going to speak to them in secret in this lofty Greek. Amarlem, so he said to them, Kozman Soskim Vavodos, he screams out to them, so long as the Jewish people are still doing the temple service, you're never going to conquer them. He gave the secret, gave the secret to the guys outside. Lamachar Shoshalu Dinar Bekupo. So the next day again, the people inside sent down the basket with the money. And they put a pig in the basket. They sent him up a pig. He got halfway up. No, it's Tiparna Bechama. So the pig dug its paws, whatever it is, its hoofs into the wall. When his dad there, Eretz Yisrael, Barman's parts and the Eretz Yisrael trembled 400 parses by 400 parses. Okay, because of the disgrace. Moshe Shah Omer, when they said at that moment, they said, Ari Shigal Chazim. Cursed is a person who grows pigs. And cursed is any person who teaches this Greek wisdom to his child. So the Gemara says, what? We heard about that time. Maisa Sheba Omer. One time it came. So what happened was, that was such a problem. So what did they do? Really, the Omer is really supposed to be brought from things growing right near Yerushalayim. But instead, they brought the barley for the Omer, from the Omer carbon, Ginas Tzrifim, from a place called Ginas Tzrifim, which was very far away, and also the Shtei Lechem, also, which really you wanted to get the wheat from close by. The Bikas Ein Socha, they brought it from Bikas Ein Socha, which is a place very far from Yerushalayim. Why? Because that year they were not able to bring from the places that were close, like they did every year, because the soldiers sieging the city had destroyed the fields around Yerushalayim. One second. Since when this Greek lofty Greek wisdom is it forbidden? Tanya, didn't we learn? Rabbi said, Eretz Yisrael Loshen Sursi. He says Lama. He said, why should you speak Aramaic in Eretz Yisrael? Okay, why should okay? O Lashon HaKodesh, you should either speak Hebrew or Lashon Yavanis. You should speak Greek, which is very beautiful language. Okay, Babel. He says in Babel Lashon Aramaic, and even in Babel. Why should you speak Aramaic? Or Lashon HaKodesh, either speak the holy tongue Hebrew, or Lashon Parsi, speak Persian, which is nicer. Both of those languages, Persian and Greek, are nicer languages than Aramaic. Okay, so you see clearly from Rebbe that you can speak Greek. So what was the problem? He says, "Oh, Lashon." He said, "No, you're making a mistake. Lashon Yavani lechud and Chachma Yavanis lechud. There's a difference between the simple Greek language, and Chachma Yavanis, which is something else, right? That's not the same thing. Greek, you're allowed to speak, but what is Chachma Yavanis? This is this very lofty language of the wise men, okay, in Greek, okay, who are the royalty. That's a special lofty tongue. There's that one. There's the normal Greek language is not a problem, but but the lofty one, that's what's forbidden. I have a Chachma Yavanis Miyasir. Even this language, highfalutin language of the Greek scholars. He says it's forbidden. He says, Rav Shmuel, Mishum Rabban Shimon Gamliel, didn't we learn? He says, the Navi was Yirmiyahu. He says, Any Ola, his eyes are becoming ugly from crying so much. From crying so much, becoming ugly. Elef Yeladim the house of my father had Gamliel says, he goes to Pasuk, he says, my father's house had 1,000 young men, 1,000 bachrim. 500 of them learned Torah. 500 learned Greek wisdom, like I gave nothing left of them except for me here. And the son of my father's brother in Asya. Okay, they were all killed in the destruction of the temple. So you see what? Even in the house of Ram Gamliel, they learned this thing called Chachma Yavanis, this highfalutin Greek wisdom. So what is it? So how can you tell me it's also? The Gemara says no. Amri, this is what Shani B'Yisrael Gamliel. They were, even though everyone else was forbidden to learn that highfalutin talk, but the house of Gamliel was allowed to. Because they were very involved with the government, and therefore they had to know that high class language or wisdom to talk. Okay, the Tanya, like we learned, a masaper kumi. Okay, if a person cuts the hair on his like his forehead and leaves the parts afterwards, that is what? That's the way of the Goyim. It's the way of the Goyim. Okay, because that's how they cut their hair for Avodah Zarah. After Lumas, Baruve, Etila, the Supper Kumi, this Kumi, this type of hairdo, they allowed him to do it. Why? But because he had to be involved with the government. So based on Gamliel, on the same thing, the children of the house of Gamliel, they're allowed to talk this high class Greek wisdom language. Why? Because they were close to the government, so they had a reason to do it. We'll call that a don.
Next volume tomorrow.
Next
You
volume.
need the volume tomorrow. Not a minute, customer.
Oh, is that what's happening? Yeah, I guess we need both volumes tonight.
I have a question.
Let me stick up. Yes.
We were talking about with Kriyas to Torah, that pasuk we talked to Yomi Rainbow Mayim.
Yeah.
Demon said before Matan Torah. And also, in the days of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Homer Chokum, when the Sefer Torah came into existence,
That's a
piece to the whole
great
thing at
kasha.
the end.
So the only thing I'm going to answer, remember, they had a whole church tradition already from the time of Rabbi. They had a tradition. They did have a tradition.
But I think it was all past.
Yeah. But we're still learning.
They learned, but it wasn't like.
Oh, that's a good kasha. That, but how could he have been talking the reading?
That's right.
That I'm going to check.
Okay.
Good kasha. That's a great kasha. That's a great kasha. I got it.
Why?
Speaking of Mondays, shading Kamishi, it was always a custom carried over from Europe to only eat milk.
Yeah, my father did that.
Right. Because
That's because they couldn't afford meat.
I should know. I didn't say it this year. I should have said, why Monday and Thursday? You can get different days and still have three. So why not have three? So because that's when he went up. No, because that's when he went up and he came down. The second Luchos, he went up on Thursday and came down on Monday. So that was the reason. Yeah, that was the reason. I forgot to say it. That was the reason.
Why did they translate it as a fancy dialect? The Miri says it's philosophy.
Because not everybody says that.
And the Rambam says it's the equivalent of their Kabbalah.
Yeah, I'm saying
But
that
we
the other
don't,
Rishonim don't say
which
that.
they don't even have anymore.
Yes,
They don't.
because the way the story goes, it works. Because the story was, remember, because he
used it as to tell the
secret. That was the point. That's the
he could have
a code. But this, I'm saying this. Yeah, I'm saying, but this made this. But I told you that's not the simplest explanation. Yeah, that's the
but
simplest
they
explanation.
learned that they use this.
Yeah,
I mean, among certain circles, they use this.
the Rambam was certainly not afraid of Greek wisdom. The way that way Greek, he didn't have a problem.
Well, he didn't, because he held it was their equivalent of Kabbalah.
Yeah.
But we have, I know of Rebbeim who say you can't go to college because Greek wisdom is science and math, and
You know, my joke is, you know, a lot of things by the going these days, and I really mean it nice, a lot of things, you know, they were what a czar, but today,
No.
the people, it's all nothing, the people.
Well, first of all, it's not, even Christianity is not
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
only five people in the whole world believe
Even
it.
these things like they go trick or treat, they have no idea what's happening.
No,
was or whatever.
it's because it's the night
It's
of
nothing,
All
it's just,
Saints night.
I'm saying, but it's nothing, it's just candies.
There's a modern
Yeah.
Orthodox rabbi.
But you make a joke, I'll tell you today, I was gonna tell you that we first out to my rabbi, I guess, so they're all coming here, they're teaching the women, this and that. So you teach about your own path. So you start to laugh and you say,
Because we're not really learning it.
he said what they call the bar. He says
My son, I'll tell you.
I said here, it's like the university don't like Greek philosophy either.
Right.
That's what I tell you.
One of my children
Yeah.
was teaching in a
Have a wonderful day.
town school.
Yeah.
And some modern parents complained that the girls are being shortchanged.
Yeah.
So they decided, the board, that he should teach Gemara to the girls too. So he said, I have to talk to my Rebbe. So his Rebbe says, you can teach girls Gemara. You teach them the Maskana. You can't teach them the So he told them that. He says, fine, but now you're shortchanging the boys.
Yeah.
So they made a deal that he could go one more year before they split it. Well, he has changed another job. So we move here, right? And my wife goes to a class, Megillah, at BRS. And she thought they're going to learn
the
Megillah, but they were learning Masechtes Megillah.
Right.
She comes home, she says, honey, what are you supposed to do? She says, Noah quit his job over this, and now I'm learning Megillah. He says, it's not for women to learn Megillah. The Easter is for someone to teach them Megillah.
There's a whole list of these things. Like I have a share here.
Somebody knows Jake Kaufman?
I don't know.
So put it back over there. Just put it back in the pile.
Yeah, maybe just left it here.
I'm looking for me.
Is Rabbi Green still here? Because he left the phone.
He's not gone. He's not gone. He eats breakfast. His wife doesn't let him come home. No, you have a happier marriage if you spend less time. Gemara says you don't do women b'chlal, and your wife you minimize. So it doesn't have, which is just a forerunner of the fact that the women do all the talking. You know the story. Little kid comes home from school and says, Mommy, I got a great part in the play.
Yeah.
She says, what part did you get? She says, I'm the tati. She gives him a smack. She says, I wanted you to have a speaking role.
That's right. I went on, I don't know if in Yerushalayim, so there's a couple stores which are the supplies for all of the nurseries,
Right.
first grades. So the day before school opened, I was there, and it was jam-packed from wall to wall with nursery school, with first grade, all women.
With the nursery school.
All women.
They're all young, attractive
and
women.
and there's this, it's such a din of talking and things like that. And then they all finished and walked out, and there was nobody in the store except for me and the lady, the proprietor. And all of a sudden, the silence was deafening. She looks up at me. She says, 10 pushes of Libra were given to the world, 9 to women. She said, I said, you said it. I didn't say, I said, you said it. Everyone do it.
Oh, thank you. You're right.
No.
It's good. I know fortune. I know the big. Hey, good morning.
So, this part, also the government business in books.
In Old Forge, you'll be happy with the Old Forge. There was a Jewish sir that was under the influence of the mafia. If you didn't pay them, they burnt your homes or you burnt your house. Right. So I heard that saying, Jews are the reason for the mafia. If there were no Jews, there'd be no mafia. That's full force. That's safe. That's really the book. So that's I don't for general knowledge. I just know that if anybody was paying the mafia to survive, so the Jews were the cause. It was crazy, stupid thing. Unions control tax. Nobody keeps up. Not to control the taxes. Gold taxes. Chip shop, gold. Okay, you have a wonderful day. It's all up in the air. It's I'm sure people change their minds. You're stuck at home? So far, we'll see what happens. Okay, here's a man who gets by. Who gets by, says the Mishnah, so no one jumps on. That's right. Good day. You too. So now I understand why he was called Og Melech HaBoshen. Just like you. Oh, cookies. And if you eat enough cookies,